Update 4. On our anniversary, my wife said, "I'm not your property." I'm opening our marriage, kissed my best friend, and went on a trip with him. I changed the locks and started the divorce. A week later, I had 98 calls from her. My daughter yelled, "How dare you evict mom over this? You're an insecure loser if you can't accept new reality. You failed as a dad, failed as a husband, and as a man." I gave her a DNA test, saying, "Don't ever call me again. I will sue for all the money I spent on you." I worked extra to fund family getaways. She was with her lover, and the kids never said a word. For the rest of the day, I locked myself in my study, ignoring phone calls, ignoring the outside world. An absolute darkness took hold of my mind, urging me to get revenge. I made calls to a top lawyer, the same one I'd only casually consulted before. Now it was time to finalize everything. No more illusions. I met with the lawyer, Daniel Treadway, who specialized in high-conflict divorces. We sat in his glass-walled office, an imposing view of the city behind him. "I want to cut them off," I said, voice tight. "No more tuition for Piper, no more allowances. Nothing, they've all betrayed me." Treadway studied me over the rim of his glasses. "You must understand, courts are typically sympathetic toward children's education. But Piper is 20, right? Technically an adult. You can stop paying if you wish. She might petition for more support, but given it's not mandated child support, you have options." "Good. I'm done paying for a daughter who lies to me. As for my son, I'll think about how to handle that. Maybe I'll separate him from the rest. But if he's also complicit," Treadway nodded carefully, "I'll draft the necessary motions. We'll freeze joint assets, request an immediate hearing to discuss property division. Gather all your evidence, bank statements, credit card debt, the PI's findings. If you suspect your wife might try to claim a large share, we need to be ready." I handed over the folder from Marsden. "Here's all the proof of her affair. Possibly 5 years running. The kids knew and kept silent." Treadway flipped through the photos, grimacing. "This is substantial. Courts don't always weigh infidelity heavily in property splits, but it can shape the narrative. And if she used marital funds for these rendezvous, that's a misappropriation of assets." I set my jaw. "Perfect, I want that hammered home." We concluded the meeting, with Treadway promising to expedite the process. By the time I stepped back onto the street, the sun was setting. I felt eerily calm, like every nerve was no longer raw but numb. My phone buzzed, calls from Willow, Thomas, Piper. I ignored them all. 5 days ticked by in a blur. I refused to respond to any messages from Willow, or the kids. Piper sent tearful voicemails. "Dad, can we talk please? Mom's sorry, I'm sorry, we need to figure things out." Thomas left a single text. "Dad, you gotta stop ignoring us." Willow had sent a flurry of messages, half angry, half apologetic. I read them all with cold detachment, never replying. On the 5th day, a pounding shook my front door. I peered through the peephole. Willow, Thomas, Piper, back again. This time no suitcase, just furious expressions. I opened the door a crack, enough to see them, but not enough to let them push past. "We need to talk," Willow said, voice taut. "Open the door." I stepped aside, letting them file into the living room. I noticed Thomas's face was set in a glare. Piper looked hesitant. Willow carried an air of exasperated authority, as though I were the one who'd messed up. She folded her arms. "You've ignored us for nearly a week. You've changed the locks. Piper told me you canceled her tuition. You can't do that," I scoffed, crossing my arms. "Watch me, it's my money, and I've decided neither she nor you deserve another dime from me." Piper let out a disbelieving cry. "Dad, how could you? I'm your daughter." "Are you?" I snapped. "Because from where I'm standing, a real daughter wouldn't hide the fact that her mother's been cheating for 5 years. A real daughter wouldn't celebrate my 50th birthday, on a beach with her mother's lover in tow." Willow's eyes flashed. "That's absurd. You're making assumptions, Norman. I don't know what private investigator you hired, but you need to ask yourself why I had to seek emotional support elsewhere. Have you ever considered that your constant controlling behavior, your obsession with finances, made me feel suffocated?" "Mom, don't," Piper mumbled, tugging her mother's sleeve. Willow wrenched away. "No, let me speak. If Norman had been a better provider, if he'd tried harder, I wouldn't have needed Otis's money. And I definitely wouldn't have been tempted to reconnect with Gavin." "Gavin," I repeated icy. "So you admit it. Gavin Rivers, your old boyfriend." Piper's head snapped up. "You know his name." "I know more than that," I hissed, drawing a small sheath of the PI's photos from my back pocket. "Here, this is you and your boyfriend at the resort bar. This is you kissing him. This is you heading to the suite while my father-in-law looked on like it was normal. And you," I wheeled on Piper. "You sat there with your cocktail, acting like everything's peachy. You and Thomas both." Thomas barked out. "We didn't ask for details, okay? I'm not some gossip. But Mom has a right to be happy. You're never around, you're always working, always yelling. Don't you dare turn this on me," I snarled. "It's a double betrayal. I've given everything for this family, and the two of you kept quiet while your mother pranced around with Gavin Rivers. Because you liked the trips, didn't you? The money, the fancy resorts, Courtesy of Otis or whoever else was paying. Piper interjected, tears in her eyes. Dad, can't you see how miserable you made Mom? She needed to feel desirable. If you'd paid half the attention to her as you do to your job, maybe none of this would have happened. Willow shot Piper a warning look, but Piper was on a roll, grief and anger fueling her words. There are men out there who can provide better, you know. That's all Mom wanted, a life that didn't revolve around your controlling ways. I felt my temper fray. Are you blaming me for your mother's affair? Thomas let out a frustrated groan. Look, Dad, it's not about blame. It's about reality. You shut down emotionally years ago. You act like some machine that just pays bills, and occasionally barks orders. Mom's a human being. She messed up, but you created the situation. Stop, Willow hissed at them both. Enough. We're here to solve problems, not inflame them. I barked a bitter laugh. Solve problems? You're all telling me it's my fault you lied, cheated, and took secret trips with your ex. This is unbelievable. That's when Piper's eyes narrowed, tears brimming. She suddenly spat. And how do you even know we're your kids? An electric jolt of shock went through me. The words echoed in the living room. Willow's face turned pale. Thomas froze. Piper, Willow snapped. That's enough. Don't say something you'll regret. But Piper kept her gaze locked on me, shaking with emotion. Dad wants to talk about betrayal, about lying. Fine, I'm sick of all this. He's not the only one who's been kept in the dark. My fury ignited like a flashfire. Get out, I growled, voice shaking. Get out of my house before I do something we'll all regret. Willow tried to reach for Piper's arm to pull her back, but I advanced on them, picking up a decorative vase from a side table. I didn't hurl it, but I brandished it threateningly. They stumbled toward the door. Willow followed, eyes wide with something between fear and desperation. I threw the vase down onto the floor where it smashed into shards, making them flinch. You come in here, lecture me about your affair, then drop that bomb? Get out. Before I knew it, they were gone, slamming the door behind them. And I was left trembling among scattered ceramic fragments. Those last words from Piper haunted me. How do you even know we're your kids? In a rage, I refused to consider it. But in the cold silence that followed, doubt seeped in. What if, she's not mine? 3 days later, I mustered the nerve to collect stray hairs from Piper's brush, left behind in her old bathroom, and a used tissue from Thomas's wastebasket. I mailed them off to a DNA testing lab, requesting 2 paternity tests, one for Piper, one for Thomas. The results arrived sooner than expected. Late one evening, a discreet envelope came in the mail. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.